So Justin Trudeau announced that he's going to resign, or that he intends to resign. This is the wording. And a lot of people are worried, and I understand it, that he's trying to play some kind of game where he's faking a resignation and he's got some shenanigans he's going to pull, and then he's going to end up staying in power anyways. And he'd be like, well, I didn't say I was resigning. I just said I was intending to resign. Look, I understand the concern because we're so desperate to get rid of this guy that is haunting this land and has haunted this land for over a decade. But look, here's my take. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We're going to find out, I guess. But the man is done. He's cooked. It's over. He knows it. My personal reading at this time, based on the information that I have and my observance of the man's megalomaniacal, narcissistic personality over the past however long I've been forced to watch him operate in government and continually implode and destroy this once great country, is that this is the best we're ever going to get publicly from Twinkle Toes. It's the best we're going to get from him. It's not going to get any more detailed. I mean, the guy, listen to how he answers questions posed by the quote-unquote press in Canada, the Canadian journalists that are all paid off by Trudeau. Although they have been starting to throw some uppercuts lately, and the rhetoric of the media is starting to turn. It's kind of like, maybe it has something to do with the Trump effect. I don't know. Something's going on. But look at the way that Twinkle Toes has answered all the questions in the media. He never gives very specific, detailed, concise, logical answers. He gives very vague, grandiose, pulls all kinds of threads into it, ends up talking completely off the point of the question, and then never ends up answering the question. I mean, the guy's a professional teleprompter reader. He's been programmed since the age of 7 years old to be what he is. He was raised in the cult, okay? So he's a puppet. He's a sock puppet, literally. The sock man is a sock puppet. So sock puppets don't answer direct questions with direct answers. So for Canadians to be concerned, let me just reassure you, the man is done. Here's another reason why. Even if he's got some shenanigans planned where he's going to turn around and go, psych, I'm not really resigning. I'm still going to be your prime minister, and you're stuck with me. Everybody and their mother knows on all political aisles in Canada right now. And I've got my ear to the ground on the word on the street here. And I'm sure you listening know what I'm talking about. That not only is Trudeau done, and I'm talking in the public mind, in the Canadian public mind, in the world public mind. The fact that Trudeau even mentioned the word resign and you know what? He was specific. I intend to resign as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister. That's a specific of an announcement about a resignation you're going to get from a narcissistic asshole like Trudeau, okay? With a shiny silver spoon plugged so far up his arse, his brain simply is ceasing to function. But he's got this one right, and so that's one way of reading it, is that this is it's like getting someone to admit they were wrong. Try getting a narcissist to admit they were wrong or they failed. And that's why the rest of his announcement there was colored in him being the victim of the fighting within his Liberal Party, blah, blah, I'll stand, I'm a fighter, I'll stand for Canadian right to the end, and even though there's all this bickering that's been holding me back, like he's almost like saying, well, it's because my own party can't get its shit together and don't realize my blessed greatness that I've been blessed with by the gods, then That's their problem, and I'm just going to resign, sail off into the sunset, and go work for Klaus Schwab because he's the only guy that's going to hire me. Like, that's the best you're getting from this guy, okay? So that's my point number one on why he's done, okay? There's been a lot of people that work within the Liberal Party that have been confirming for weeks now that he's going to resign and that it's legit and it's real, and, so here we are. Let's see how this goes, because look at the timeline in which this all took place. This took place within a month of Trudeau going to have that meeting with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And now Trump is starting to fill everybody in on what was said in that meeting. And it has to do with, according to Trump, the fact that if America pulls all of its support and all of its subsidization of Canada and basically says, look, and this is what he's saying, we don't need your cars, we don't need your milk. He's like, we got a lot of milk. We don't need your milk. We don't need your cars. I'd rather have them built in, I don't know where he said, Massachusetts or something. Where do they build cars in America? I'm an ignorant Canadian. He was saying something about that. And he was saying, when he asked Trudeau, what would happen to Canada if we pulled out? Meaning, if we pulled all of our support that we're supporting Canada on, because you guys have had a bunch of incompetent, corrupt losers running your country for decades. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle, right? And Trudeau's like, yeah, well, this is what Trump said. Trudeau's like, yeah, well, we wouldn't survive. Just because of the way the whole thing is set up. So Trump's argument is, well, then you might as well be a state, because I'm paying more for you, paying billions of dollars a year to Canada, and you guys are pretending like you have things we want, but we're just sort of like, now with the new setup we're going to have, we'll basically just it'd be like telling your 14-year-old that they're doing an amazing job at washing the dishes. You're just doing an amazing job, and you just keep doing what you're doing. Like, that's kind of the relationship that Canada's been in with the U.S. This is Trump's argument. You can disagree, agree. I'm just filling in points for you to consider as we analyze whether or not Trudeau's really gone, okay? So, anyways, regardless of the meeting, I just thought that was kind of funny the way Trump delivered that. And we're going to have to find a way to rebut that if we want to keep a sovereign country. And I'm going to get to some thoughts on this whole annexing of Canada thing in a minute, because I got some interesting ideas. See if they pan out. But I'm just loading up the table here with reasons why I think Trudeau's actually done and the resignation is legit. This next reason is about something that a lot of people don't really pause to think about, but you really need to understand how government gets its information about what they're going to do. And they get it from polls and data. From who? Well, from we the people, the public mind. Everybody go read some Edward Bernays. Get caught up on the public mind. And then go read some Gustave Le Bon and learn more about crowd consciousness and how it's actually been psychologically diagnosed as being the IQ of basically an infant, okay? The collective mind. But either way, the public mind is like public opinion. What's the trends? What's the fads? What's popular? They can't operate too far out of that, which is why they need the Hollywood media circus to be the ones creating the trends and the memes and the culture. And they attack the culture on that sense to guide everybody into the political world and the economic world that they want, okay? So if that old system is currently being taken down and the public are more and more aware of it, the public mind, not just individual minds, the public mind is aware of, to a certain level that it's never been aware of before, of the level of corruption and evil and God knows what that's been going on while we've all been sleeping in our collective trance. The public mind is starting to realize something's afoot. And they're seeing what the difference is being ruled under these dingbats like Trudeau versus these stronger personalities like Trump. And there's a few other examples. And people are saying, I would rather have lower taxes. I would rather have more money in my pocket. I'd rather have my government actually represent me because I'm paying them and not spending all my money all over the world on wars and all these things that I'm so disconnected from. And they want change. People want change. That's why Trudeau has to resign. He's bad for the Liberal Party. He's bad for Canada. Nobody's defending him. Maybe Dean Blundell and that red-haired chick, Gilmore Girls or whatever her name is. That's it. That's it. All the other liberals I know are like, fuck, this guy's making us look like shit. And I'm like, yeah, he really is. So the public mind wants him to go. And when Trudeau walks out of that fancy ass house he lives in with his papers blowing away in the wind right before he's got to give his little speech, and then he does it, and he says the words, I intend to resign as the Prime Minister and the leader of the Liberal Party, the public mind in Canada and around the world, it's getting retweeted by Elon Musk, everybody, the memes are hitting it's unstoppable. It's a tsunami right now of a reaction all over the world. Other world leaders are commenting on it. Trump is taking the trolling to another level. Mr. Governor, it's funny. It's hilarious. Okay? Come on. It's hilarious. If it wasn't so tragic, it's hilarious. At the very least. Okay? Politics has never been this entertaining. Come on. Be honest. If it wasn't so serious, I would just only be laughing. I'm laughing a little bit because it is funny. I'm also concerned and I've got my worries as well, okay? But let's have a good laugh here. Trudeau mentions the word resignation when the whole world is just willing him. He's like, do it, say the words. He says the words. Everyone's like, yes, massive valve release. The public mind has now determined in the court of public opinion that Trudeau is done and he's resigned. I think that's powerful. It doesn't matter if he comes up and goes, I'm officially resigning as of this day, or whatever people think he's supposed to say. The people have made up their mind. He said resignation. It's out. You don't undo that opening of Pandora's box. I'm sorry. Because these politicians and even the most powerful think tanks and roundtable groups and whoever you want have to consider the will of the public mind, which is why they needed to entrain the public mind for so long. And when that entrainment is starting to break, which it is, not wholly, not in every category, but in some of the main ones that have taken a long time to get to where we are right now, so we should be grateful for what we're getting. That public mind is awakening and starting that process and rejecting the WEF globalist plants that have been installed in these various Western countries as they try to finish off Western civilization. And so people are rejecting that. And it's not just happening in Canada. This is a trend that's going on all throughout Europe. People are getting better at spotting who the puppets are versus who the real guys are. And that's why Trudeau's done. He's done because the will of the people says that he's done. And it's not even just Canada now. It's like the whole world is like, yeah, get rid of that bank account freezing, horrible orator, corrupt, scandal-ridden, socialist tyrant wannabe, because he's not even the stuff of legend. Come on. He's a pretender. He's a pretender god, okay? He's a maniac. This guy's done. Get him out of our sight. That's the public mind. So if Trudeau had some shenanigans planned, or he's just going to be like, look, I'll just say what they want to hear, sort of, and then I'll just like word it in a way where I don't really have to resign. It doesn't matter, is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter. Even if he didn't come out and say he's resigning, the world has decided that Justin Trudeau is to resign and to be done, and to wait on the ice until Nuremberg 2 or the military tribunals begin. Because trust me, we're not going to settle for, oh, just let him sail off into the sunset after what he's done to this country. No. Lawful justice is coming because that's the will of the people, and we outnumber them. And their numbers of support are dwindling by the nanosecond. That's why he's done. The record is crystal clear. There is no defense. There is no innocent explanation. And when the man says it himself, that's the best you're going to get from a narcissistic little pauper like him. Okay? So there's that. Next, Trump saying he's going to turn Canada into the 51st state. We don't know if we're going to be the 51st or the 53rd, because it depends how this order of events goes on, because Trump is in the process of acquiring Greenland, and he's talking about taking back the Panama Canal and bringing in Mexico. So, I've been in this game a long time, guys. I grew up listening to Jim Tucker and Alex Jones and all those guys and Gerald Griffin, everybody. And they were all talking back in the day about the North American Union. You remember that? The uniting of Canada, Mexico, and the U.S.? The Amero and all that shit, right? Well, when that reporting was done, because this is what everybody's worried about. They're like, well, if Trump is going to acquire Mexico and Canada and all this stuff, well, then isn't this the New World Order? Isn't this what they said they were going to do? Hey, I'm glad you've been paying attention. I'm glad you've been listening this long. I'm glad to see some critical thinking. You should absolutely be asking that question right now. Here's my answer to that at this stage, based on what I've seen. And I know a lot of people don't like the fact that I support Trump and have supported him from the beginning, and that I believe that there's a bigger plan going on in the background. Just put that aside for a second, okay? I believe the man is trying to do good for America. I believe he's a businessman. He knows how to do mergers and acquisitions. And I believe he wants it to be based on what he says, the original founding constitution. So let's just think about this. Because I remember even an interview with Jim Marrs. Remember, rest in peace, God bless him, Jim Marrs? He was another one I used to learn about this New World Order from when he was with us. I still read his books all the time. Highly recommend. He did great work. And he spoke a lot about how the New World Order structure was going to be built, how the world government was going to be built. And he said something in an interview from like 2008 or 2009 that always stuck with me, which was that he said, hey, I'm not anti-government, okay? I'm anti-corrupt government, but we need some kind of management system. We can call it government, we can call it something else, but we need to have a system to manage human affairs and just manage the basics, right? And he said, there's nothing essentially wrong philosophically with the idea of a world government, especially if we're starting space travel or meeting maybe other civilizations and you need to sort of act like a team here, Team Earth, right? You could say, well, there could be a rational understanding of why there'd be a global government system, okay? But he said that's not what these guys are setting up, these global government people. They are setting up a global dictatorship, global technocracy ruled by them as an elitist structure, as a techno-fascist mix of, it's a hybrid system, as Carol Quigley put it, between what he called super capitalism, which is crony capitalism, which is Klaus Schwab capitalism, that he called stakeholder capitalism, but to which Quigley called super capitalism. So Quigley said they were going to make these elites, because he was sitting at the table and a part of the meetings, go read Tragedy and Hope, where he's talking about how they're going to set up a system that's a hybrid between super capitalism, fascism, and communism. Bertrand Russell spoke about it being a world socialism, which that's been on the table for a long time, because world socialism is just a key word for one leash to control many necks, right? The ring of power, one ring to rule them all. So Jim Marrs was basically trying to say, look, philosophically, a world government that was run on an American constitutional basis, where everybody had their governors and they all were working independently on the will of the people, kind of like the way the United States or Canada should be set up, where the federal government has very little say in the immediate affairs of each town, county, state, province, whatever. That's done by the people, and they elect people from among the people to speak for the people in a local representative scenario, all the way up to a provincial or state level, which then just has to obey the basic laws of the federal government, which should only be there to protect the borders and ensure that the economy is operating in a fair manner. And fair meaning, free market fair, not the socialist kind of fair, which means they just level the playing field and create an entire malingering society. Anyways, I'm digressing into all kinds of shit here. What was I saying? So the idea is that everybody's worried. Let me just sum it all up. Everybody's worried that this Trump acquisition, or this American acquisition of Canada, Mexico, and the United States, and Greenland, and maybe even Australia, who knows, that is somehow going to result in some sort of tyranny under Trump. Meanwhile, we do have the track record of what he was trying to do with a lot of his policies in the States, where he was trying to transfer the power back to the States on all the issues, from abortion to everything. Transfer the power back to the States. That's sort of the idea. And so if we're dealing with a North American Union under someone like Trump, who, unless he totally changes character and goes completely off script and starts becoming a total full-on globalist dictator, would be running this union as basically an economic partnership, like the way corporations will have strategic partnerships or even mergers in some cases. So it's who's running it. That's the point here. If we're talking about the North American Union that was proposed by the Bilderberg UN globalist crowd, they were working for the totalitarian rule of the planet type of government system. This is being pitched completely differently and would work completely differently. And I remind you that we were already under a sort of global governing system. And we need to bear that in mind. Also, as in terms of Canada, I can only speak about Canada. Everybody's worried about being basically another state, like if this is actually going to be something that happens, right? And by the way, I'm already like open. I would love to keep Canada a sovereign country if we could actually start creating the change we need to create. But Canada, unfortunately, is full of a lot of very apathetic, ill-informed people, sorry to say. And our government is so wacky and corrupt. Our founding documents are shite. Our constitution had no teeth during the pandemic, so to me it's useless. Everything's been captured. There's only like one or two senators that actually stood up and did some proper things. Everybody else is bought and paid for. The judges are corrupt. Everything is just, it's a captured state. Trudeau turned it into the world's first post-national state, and we are run by the globalist big banking interests. We're not run locally. And it makes sense because we were a vassal state of the Crown Corporation of England. That's Canada. So what do you want to do, Canada, after you've just experienced what it's like to be ruled by whether they're conservatives or liberals in this country? Or now the NDP, who's just holding the whole country hostage so Jagmeet can get his bloody pension. What do you want? You want to be... Basically, I'm saying pick your rulers. Pick your reptilian overlords. For all the people that are saying Trump is part of the Illuminati, deep state, whatever. He's just been playing a show all the time. Fine. Maybe if he is, which reptilian overlords do you want? Do you want Klaus Schwab and King, whatever the fuck his name is, in England there, in Buckingham Palace, and the WEF, and the Club of Rome, where they want to reduce the world's population by like 90% and turn everybody else into a bunch of cyborg slaves under a global government that is a total dictatorship? Or do you want the reptilian overlords that are like, hey, let's just come together and lower taxes and build enterprise and increase wages and build a culture again worth preserving and give you rights and freedoms and property rights and free speech rights and the right to defend your home and your property and your loved ones. Let's protect our borders. Let's make it great, right? And you know, we're the neighbor to America, and I got to be honest, I've been sort of jealous this entire time that you've had someone like Trump in office that's actually been speaking that and going to these globalists and giving them the middle finger time and again, and going up against the media and giving them the middle finger time and time again, exposing corruption time and time again. I could care less if you like his rhetoric or his delivery. I find him to be absolutely hilarious, because you got to understand like the context of the man, what time he comes from and who he is. But that's just me. It doesn't matter. It's about policy. So right now in Canada, we're concerned about whether or not we can trust Pierre Poilievre. How good is he going to be? Is he just another... Are we just going to see another Andrew Scheer? Are we just going to see more spineless conservatives that are really just liberal light, which is the accusation of Maxime Bernier, who left the party, but then, you know, has his own failures as a leader himself, can't even get a seat, can't even get voted in his own riding. The PPC is a dead duck right now, even though I love many of those policies as well, and there's a lot of good people in there, but it's also it's attracted a lot of lice. But so is the conservatives and so is the liberals. Wherever humans are, it's gonna be a mixed bag, okay? So anyways, we're worried in Canada, are we gonna get Mark Carney to replace Trudeau as a liberal? Look, Mark Carney, don't worry about that guy. He's fucking nobody, all right? He's nobody. He's got zero charisma, zero likability, all right? My steering wheel has more charisma than Mark Carney, so I wouldn't worry about who they're gonna... It doesn't matter if they could resurrect Elvis Presley, put him in charge of the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party is so dead in the water in the public mind of Canadians, I'm talking the vast majority, they're going to have to dig themselves out for a long ass time before we ever trust them again. They might as well implode the party and create a different one. Start over. That would be the best option for them. So they can pick anybody, it won't matter, and they don't have any picks that are going to be up to snuff to take out Pierre Poilievre at this point. So then we're like, okay, well, Pierre Poilievre is guaranteed to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Can we trust him? Is he going to actually get us out of the Paris climate stuff? Is he going to actually operate like the way Trump has operated? I got to say, honestly, if Kamala had won, if they actually got enough fake ballots to make it look like she won and she ended up getting inaugurated on January 20th instead of Trump, I would be worried about a Pierre presidency or Pierre rule, whatever, prime ministership, because we kind of do whatever America's doing. Like, if we're being ruled by that party in America, I feel like he'll kowtow to them too much. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he's going to blow all of our minds and exceed all of our expectations. I mean, that's what we're all praying for. But maybe he's just going to be another one of the gang, right? And so, who's a good talker? Because he's a good talker, let's be honest. He's put Trudeau on a hot seat many times, and he speaks very educatedly educatedly. Look how educatedly I am. He speaks very eloquently about economics and everything else, and he's got a few good ones. So, you know, maybe the guy's going to be better than Trudeau. Let's put it that way, all right? My cat would be better than Trudeau at this point, all right? So, and he's going to get voted in. Canada is done with the Liberals. They don't trust the PPC. They are voting Conservative. There's no changing it. It's what's going to happen, okay? So just accept that, and we're going to deal with what happens after Pierre Poilievre gets put into office. Now with Trudeau resigning, there's a faster track, I think, to there being an election and Conservatives are going to blow the doors off it, and they're going to get a strong mandate from the Canadian people. It's going to be up to the Canadian people to hold them to it. I feel better with Trump being in office in the States, especially with all the attention he's having on Canada. And all this rhetoric could be a way of him talking out our corrupt politicians from continuing to be as corrupt as they are and incompetent as they are. But whether we stay a sovereign nation under this old crown corporation bullshit, Her Majesty the bullshit queen, whatever, okay? Will we stay under that? Or if we redraft our constitution, which we could do, Canadians, we could do a total constitutional reform movement in this country, and we could do what America did once upon a time and establish a proper, sovereign, serious country. We totally could do that, and that would be awesome. I just don't know if we're capable of doing it as a country right now. I just don't know. I'd love to think we are. I just don't know. I hope we are. Maybe we can. What's the alternative? Trump is serious and he acquires Canada and he annexes Canada. And then what? Instead of being under the Crown Corporation of England and the globalist deep state cabal, you're under a different gang that is coming in to basically liberate the country by saying, hey, just join us. Do you understand the economic benefits that would be involved if it was run properly, that is? Of merging Canada with the United States and Mexico? Do you realize the resources, holy smokes. You want to talk about having an alliance against the globalists? So the concerns are valid. We're all going to see what's going to happen. But I'm just thinking out loud here and saying, hey, hold on a second. Everybody's worried we're going to lose Canada as a sovereign nation, when I'm here to tell you we were never a sovereign nation, bro. Maybe a few semblances of such a thing. We were a Commonwealth British colony that we didn't go along with the Americans as they separated from the British Crown. We went, no, we love being ruled by the elite British Empire. And then, yes, there were the founding settlers in Canada that I think had the best intentions to get as close as possible to freedom. But there was some mistakes. There was some chicanery going on right from the founding. Many people have documented this. And then when you look at the very unimpressive Canadian Charter that just didn't stand the test of time. We either need, if you want to have a sovereign country, we either need to do a constitutional reform and basically start from scratch. Well, not from scratch, but just, restart it. Or, because we're in billions of dollars of debt and deficit, and it's going to take an epic Herculean effort to get out of the damage that was done by the Liberal Party to this country and the Conservatives before them, to be honest with you. And the globalists and what they've been doing to this country by the way of their glove puppets. We cut our losses and we say, let's declare bankruptcy as a failed country and just become a state that has a sovereign mandate and our own state constitution. And wouldn't you want to be having more of an American-style constitution than a Canadian-style constitution when it comes to rights and freedoms? How many people are moving to the States right now, or moving to Mexico? That's where Canadians are fleeing to. You're already leaving to go to one of the partners of this deal. So what if we all just kind of got together and went, hey, let's all live in freedom with individual rights, property rights, free speech rights, a stronger military to deal with the threats that are happening in our world right now. The world is changing so quickly. Do you think the Canadian military on its own, if America pulls all the support, can handle dealing with China and Russia? Or as North Korea? Or the Pleiadians? Or whoever's... whatever the hell's going on? So the concern for me would be, okay, what are the conditions? Like, instead of arguing on like kindergarten level about, oh, that sounds bad, it sounds like the New World Order. No, it's, what are the conditions? What's the contract going to say? That's what I'd be interested in. And Trump's a deal maker. He's a businessman. And trust me, a government is a business, whether we like it or not. That's what it is. It's been a very corrupt, shady, bullshit business for a long time. What if that could change? What if we could actually have a legitimate government that is held in check by its people who are going to have to participate in this? Can't just cast all the blame on the corrupt deep state. They were just taking advantage of the vacuum that was left in our absence while we just wanted to be entertained with bread and circuses and just have everything handed to us with a welfare state instead of working and creating abundance and prosperity, right? So we have either a sovereign Canada with a redrafted constitution and a new mandate moving forward, and everybody's paying attention and their heads on a swivel 24/7, or we join forces with the US as they completely change their trajectory. And so what if people can change? What if things can change? What if countries can change? And if this corrupt deep state that had put this original plan for this New World Order totalitarian system into place is being flushed out, and everybody's watching it happen. I mean, the only way they are going to build a totalitarian system is if they get rid of free speech and if they get rid of private property and property rights. So if you have somebody advocating for the opposite of that and saying, no, we're building this shit with that, I guess you could still say, yeah, it's still a New World Order. It's still a form of collectivism, I guess. But you kind of go, well, pick your poison, bro. You can have anarchy and go live like the Amish. And look, whether you're in Canada or the US, nobody's stopping you. The Amish exist, hence you can also go set up a lifestyle like the Amish where you completely reject all of the wonders of modern Western civilization, and you go live in the woods with your family and you build a tire house and you just say, I'm out of here. You could do that. That's one option. Everybody could become anarchists, and then, I mean, I don't know how we're going to deal with China and Russia and all those threats as a bunch of rogue lone wolves running around. But, you know, there's that. Or we could do what I'm suggesting, which would be to constitutional reform, reset the country, do it properly, and be a really good, strong partner with the US. That could also work really well. But as long as sovereignty and all those rights I was talking about are the bedrock, and the government can't grow into this big, fat, inflated balloon animal that it has to plunder off everything you produce, I'm cool with that. But I'm also strangely cool with being another state in bed with the US enterprise, because we were already just a vassal state of the Crown of England to begin with. So all we're doing is trading what vassal state we're going to be. And being that we haven't been able to demonstrate that we can do this all on our own to this point, not to say we couldn't in the future, but just to this point, and the amount of wreck we're going to have to pull ourselves out of after the wake of Trudeau and gang, and still confront the threats that we have in our world, it might make more sense to become a 51st state. So those are just some thoughts. Let me guys know what you guys think. I'm just for freedom and prosperity, whichever way we can get to it. And I'd love to hear your ideas. So there you have it. Let's see how it goes. Either way, this is very, very entertaining. You got to admit. All right. So we'll talk soon. Cheers.